Hey y'all, it's time for some damn good content. I'm Shelby Claymall, your host and business bestie. I'm a content creator, social media manager and coach, keynote speaker, wife, and a mama of two who ditched her 9-to-5 to build a thriving multi-six-figure business solely using social media. Just like you, I'm a working mom and a wife with limited time. So I'm committed to cutting the fluff and delivering tips and fresh ideas straight to your earbuds on how you too can harness damn good content and create that type of business that you love and are proud of. Each week, we'll deep dive into strategy and mindset of building your brand on social media so that your confidence and success in the online space can skyrocket. Get ready to step outside of your comfort zone and start creating some damn good content. Are you ready? Let's freaking get it. All right, I'm so excited to have this episode with my really dear friend and coach, Emily Cincotta. I'm so excited to have her here with her wisdom about coaching, niching down in your own sphere, and we're excited to have this conversation. I remember following her, y'all, from the moment I started my business. She's definitely been someone I've looked up to, and she was mentoring me before she knew she was mentoring me, and now she's officially my coach. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here and letting me do this interview with you.
Oh my gosh, yes. I am so excited to be here. And you really are like an OG friend and client. Didn't realize it till you said it, but you've been around, like we've been around together for the long haul. I think we got started at similar times in the online space too, which is so cool. So cool that this relationship has lasted.
Yeah, I remember I had seen you. You started a little bit before me. And I remember seeing your stuff and I was like, this girl is my jam. And I remember sliding into your DM and I was like, I'm new at this. I have 300 followers. She's never going to see my DM. She's never going to talk back to me because I was naive and whatever. And you did. And you were the one, I remember this. I don't know if you remember this, but you were the one that told me to go sit outside on my swing and record a video of me telling my story. And it was like 6 or 7 minutes long because I just talked forever. But you were like, just post it anyway. So yes. I definitely appreciate you. And I've been following you even when you were the launch babe. And now it's your new handle. So I'm going to give you a second to tell everyone who you are, what you do, and all of that jazz. So give us a little spill.
Absolutely. So my name is Emily Cincotta. I am a brand and business strategist for online coaches and online service providers. So what I help people do is find what makes them unique, find their secret sauce, and use that as the springboard to create one-of-a-kind offers, experiences, and brands that reach as far as they want to reach, infinitely scalable based off of the uniqueness that is you as the personal brand behind the business.
And y'all, she's dang good at it because I actually started investing with her and I actually didn't think or believe in coaches. I'm just going to put that out there for the world to hear. And I was like, that's just a waste of the money, but it's really not. I started investing with her. I think we signed in January, I'm pretty sure. And y'all, it is a huge key component in my life. And it's not necessarily meaning that I have to, like, you need a coach. It's just great to have a coach for a sounding ear, for accountability, to validate more of what you're thinking and what you're doing and really pull out that grit and oomph of you. Because I remember one time we had this Zoom call and I don't know what happened. I was in a mood maybe that day and you were like, oh my God, the information you just told me, I like this, Shelby. And I was like aggressive to like who I now am speaking to, who I want to speak to, what the personal brand is. And I will say, like, I would have never gotten to that point if it weren't for you because you knew the exact questions to ask me to get me there. So yes. I'm super excited about having you as a coach and potentially continuing with you as a coach.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, coaching it's an odd thing to wrap your head around when you're not from the coaching space, when you don't know it, when you've never had a coach before, because it's a big investment. And it's hard to understand sometimes, like, well, what is the ROI? Why can't I just take an online course? Why can't I just learn the strategy? But if you've gone through enough online courses, there comes to a point where it's like, what am I missing? Yeah. What the heck am I missing? Like, what am I doing differently? What am I not doing right? Because I feel like I'm following all of the steps. And that's where a coach can come in and can really help you fine tune and reflect back to you the things that maybe you're completely missing and you had no idea. They can also reflect back to the things that you're doing that are really good, and they can see your blind spots. Like you mentioned one of our calls where this is part of my process, you guys. I had Shelby come on and I was like, just riff. Like you said, you're in a little bit of a mood. You were a little frustrated and fed up. And I was like, okay, well, just talk to me. Like what's going on with the brand? Where do you feel like you're getting stuck? What do you wish your audience understood? And from there, I just reflected back to her, like, did you hear this when you said this? Did you know that this is unique? Did you know that this is a unique perspective? And that was the foundation of the brand that we are building and scaling right now. It's everything. But sometimes without a sounding board, without someone there to be like, oh, no, that's really good. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because we're our own worst critics. We're always like, well, everybody else thinks like I think. But that's not true. Not true at all, actually.
And I want to point out too, I think that there was one really big thing that was a turning point recently for me, and sharing this personally to give a little bit more deep dive into like our coaching, is you were like, you need to share your story more. And I'm like, I feel like people already know my story. I feel like I've talked about this a lot. I feel like I'm a broken record. And you're like, no, you need to tell your story again and again and again, and you're going to get better, and people are going to really get to know you, and they're going to understand you, and they're going to, and you know what, every single time I tell it, people are just as amazed as if it were the first time I told the story. And I think what happens when it comes to social media, you feel like, well, I'm posting too much about this, or I'm posting too much about this, that people are just getting annoyed and bogged down. In reality, not everyone sees it every single time. And for us to train them, like what we want them to think about our personal brand and us as marketers, we have to start telling them what our narrative is. Otherwise, they create their own. So I loved that perspective. And I'm actually more confident now that I've done it multiple times, because I can tell my story like this at this point. I've like taken out the bad.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody thinks either like one, their story is boring, or two, everybody knows it already. Or maybe three, it's not good enough, right? But the truth of the matter is people want to know who you are. We are in the age of the personal brand, you guys. I don't care what your business is. I don't care what you do. People want to know who's running this business. And the way that people connect with other humans online, which is where we're all doing business, it's why we're here listening to this podcast right now, is through stories. As humans, we are craving connection points. Think about it. The first thing you do when you meet someone is like, well, where are you from? Oh, I know so-and-so from there. Suddenly you feel like way connected to this person, even though like you probably don't know the mutual friend that like you just visited their home state one time, but it's like, oh, now I have something I can relate to you with. And so telling your story is so important for that exact reason of it's exactly how people start to build connections with you and decide that they can see themselves in you, decide that they like you, decide that you have things in common, which, oh my gosh, is the foundation for getting somebody to want to purchase from you if they are your ideal client in the future. So it's so important. And I'm so glad that you opened up that conversation of like, share your story and share it over and over and over again until you know exactly what those talking points are. And it's the back of your hand and people know it too. The goal is for your audience to know your story just as good as you know your story.
Right. And you said something just now, it was like a while ago, and it was really, really good because I thought the same thing. So like when you tell your story, we're so trained that we have to have something dramatic happen or very emotional happen to us that our story would be worthy telling, when in all reality, it doesn't. Like you just tell your story. And if you tell your story the way it actually happened to you, you're going to connect with so many people that you would have never thought you connected with. For example, like just moms in general that I connect with on a level of they want to build a business. They don't know how, they don't know the hardships of it. And me sharing my story of how I felt very stuck in corporate. And now I've taken the leap and I've left and I'm doing this because I can now make my own rules. And now I'm running a business and that's what I'm following my dreams. They're like, oh my God, I relate to you. I did not know you were in corporate. I did not know you did this. And so that just like, it just helps level you up. And just like you just said, and I'm so glad you said this because I feel like a broken record telling my community this, but just like you just said, it takes us, sharing our story and really building that trust factor and that relationship in order for them to buy from you. Because you can't just expect someone to buy from you if they don't even know who they're buying from. So I love that.
Yeah. I have an example of something similar from my world too, which is just the power of connection points and connection points that you don't necessarily think are relevant to your business, but they're relevant to your brand and they're relevant to who you are. I did a training in somebody else's mastermind or membership recently, and it was on the power of brand. And specifically, I was focusing in on storytelling and exactly like we're talking about now of just sharing things that maybe are a little mundane to you, but are part of who you are and how you got here. And I didn't talk about business All I did was I shared with people the emotions that brought me into this business. So in a roundabout way. And I shared about how I felt like when I left high school, I suddenly didn't have anyone to give me a gold star anymore. And I felt like lost because I didn't have that North Star anymore of like, well, just follow the path and people will give you gold stars and you will feel good because you are checking the boxes. How I felt
Right.
totally lost when I did that and how that led me into a spiral of trying all of these wrong careers. I talked about mental health. I talked about my struggles with anxiety and depression through all of it. And I didn't teach them a single thing about like, here's how you build your brand. I just shared my story with them. And the chat in that live training was blowing up with people being like, oh my God, I went through this too. Or I know exactly how you felt. That was exactly me when I did X, Y, and Z. And at the end of it, I sat back and I was like, okay, so how connected do you feel to me right now? Because this is the power of storytelling. And I get people reaching out to me every week. And it's been months and months and months since that training being like, oh my gosh, I just watched your training in so and so's membership. It blew my mind. I feel so connected to you. Like more people need to hear this. And I just
Yes.
think it's such a beautiful example of just people want to know you. People want to know
Right.
you. They're looking for connection. They're craving it.
I think too, with all of that, is we were trained for so long to only share certain things and aspects of our life and how we feel, or the people above us as entrepreneurs that are very successful did that. They didn't explain really the hardship, the emotion, the depression, the imposter syndrome, like all of that. And so when you go into trainings like you did and you share that and you're open to sharing such things like that with them, they're like, oh my God, I feel so much closer to her because I feel the exact same way. But now look at her and her business and where she is. And she just decided to continue. And I think that that's really big in my brand is, vulnerability. And you and I have talked about this a lot is if I'm willing to just be open and honest with everybody, it's not an easy road, it's a hard road. But if I can relate to one person and motivate them to do what I'm doing or to chase their dreams, then the goal is complete at that point. So storytelling is very, very big, especially in 2023 for personal brand.
You can't change someone's life if they can't see their mess reflected in your message. So, like, if they can't see themselves in your story, they're never going to believe that they can do what you're telling them to do. So, it doesn't matter like what you're selling because all products, all services, they lead us to a future state, a future version that we want to be. You're telling
Right.
somebody, if you buy this, it's going to help you get closer to this version of you that you desire to live as. If people can't see, well, she understands me or he understands me, or well, they know exactly where I've been because they've been there or they've done something similar, they've had similar hardships, they don't believe you because as humans, what we love to do is turn around and be like, but they had it easier. But they don't
Right.
understand what it's like for me. And so, if your end goal is to help people, which I truly believe every entrepreneur's end goal is to help people, like, yes, we want to make money too, but we do it by providing solutions that change people's
Right.
lives. You have to be willing to get vulnerable, especially like you said, in today's day and age, because we're over the pretty, the perfect. We're over
Right.
it. We want to see people like us.
Yeah, and I think that this is the perfect segue into the topic that we definitely wanted to talk about. And it was like niching down. Cause I remember when I met you and you were like, well, you have to niche down. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, obviously I knew what it meant, but I was like, I help so many people. I can't niche down. I don't know what that means. And like, and now it's just getting way clearer. Like Shelby Claymall helps this person, SCM helps this person. This is who we want to talk to. This is what we're targeting. And I want you to like really give us a deep dive and a lesson on why is it important and why should we really be focusing on niching down when we are building our personal brand or your business.
Yes. This is such an important topic, and it's a little frustrating, exactly like you highlighted, when you're diving in, you're trying to figure out what your niche is because you do it at the beginning of your business, but that's usually when we have the least clarity. And so, as we're talking about niche today, I want to be very upfront that even if you don't know exactly what it is yet, massive permission. And actually, I'm telling you, go take action anyways, because it's going to be through those actions that you start to figure out what your niche is and what your unique positioning is. You probably won't know from the get-go exactly what it is, and that's okay. But if we think about our niche, your niche is the unique group of people that you serve. That's it. They're the people who want what you have to offer and they want it the way that you deliver it. That's how we find our unique niche, our unique marketplace is by getting clear on, well, what is it that I do and what makes what I have different than other solutions that I see on the marketplace? And in the beginning, you're kind of like, well, I don't know. It's just another solution to this problem. I don't know. I can help so many people with this. And I understand that feeling of like, well, I don't want to niche down to just women, or I don't want to niche down to just men or moms with 2 kids or college graduates. And I'm telling you, don't do that. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for demographics. We're not looking for like these hard lines in the sand of you're either, a male or a female. You're in the age group of like 20 to 35 or you're above it. Those can be part of your niche, but what we're really looking for is saying, everyone that I feel best equipped to serve, what do they have in common? And it doesn't have to be a demographic. It could be that, they only have so many hours in a day to build their business. So they're looking for quick business building solutions that don't require them to be on live all the time. But you don't have to say that to your marketplace. You just have to know that's who I'm targeting. So, okay, I provide quick solutions. I provide quick solutions in business for people who are short on time. But again, you don't even have to say short on time. It'll just come out naturally in your marketing. But what you like, if that person who's like, okay, I provide back end business building solutions for people who don't have a lot of time to build their business with themselves being front facing and doing all the work of warming up their audience themselves by being on social media every day and doing X, Y, and Z and making all the content. Like we still have to do that, but they don't have time to like really do it the way that some people are. That's just your solution. All you need to do is say, okay, what do these people have in common? Where are they? That's my niche. And that's who I'm targeting. But this whole tangent started because I wanted to say that you find your niche over time. You just start off by saying, this is a solution I provide in the marketplace. Who's interested? And as you start to work with more people, as you start to work with the right and the wrong clients, you start to learn, okay, why was this client wrong? What did I market? How did I position myself where I attracted somebody that didn't feel like a good fit? Why didn't they feel like a good fit? And what do I now need to add into my marketing that's going to further refine the niche marketplace that I serve, so that I start to attract only people that want to do things the way that I like to deliver them? So it is a refining process that happens over time. So give yourself grace, give yourself time, start as clear as you can about the results that you provide, and then just go get messy. Go work with people. You can always provide a good solution, even if somebody's not perfectly in your niche. You can still provide a good customer experience, but pay attention to what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and pay attention to what you maybe do a little bit differently than other people on the marketplace, because through picking out those little pieces, that's how you're going to start to find your niche.
I 1010% agree with you. And at this point, and maybe didn't in the beginning, but I will say this. She is so right when you say, don't let the fact that you don't know what you're niching down on yet stop you from actually creating and putting it out there. Because I am a walking testimonial to the point of, I now have a very clear, or we're getting to the point where we're very clear of who I'm speaking to and what my 2 brands are and what we're doing with messaging moving forward. But that has come to say, with 2 years under my belt, working with the good clients and the bad clients, and knowing which ones that I actually want to attract with my messaging. And I'm starting to really understand that in the beginning, I didn't even put, like, one of the huge things that I didn't even put out there, and you can agree, I actually don't know if you're going to agree or disagree with this, about putting your pricing out there. Well, actually, I know because you do it. But is I just started doing a questionnaire on my website. And a lot of people, it one saves time because it's putting it up front of like, what are the ranges of what you're going to be willing to pay me to order to do social media for you. And 2, it breaks that whole, you have this discovery call, you have this meeting with them, and all of a sudden they go, oh, well, that's like way out of budget. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not in my niche. Obviously that's okay, but this is where we start. And so by putting that type of messaging out, and I didn't want to put pricing out for the longest time. I really don't even have a reason why I didn't, but I'm so glad with the new website launch. The last page has where I start and where it could go and what the budget is. And it just helps refine things, and it helps your messaging and who you're actually speaking to and who actually wants to work with you, and what type of investment it is. So just like you said, don't freak out if you don't know your niche yet. I didn't know until literally I hired Emily, and she was like, this is who you're talking to. Okay. And I was like, okay. Because I remember in the beginning, I was freaked out. I freaked out. I was like, I remember having conversations with you when you were the launch babe. And you were like, Shelby, it's like this easy. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm working with small businesses and oil and gas, large corporations, and I'm working with coaching clients, like, where am I niching? What am I doing? Who am I talking to? What is going on? And you're like, first off, take a breath. But you definitely changed my whole perspective on all of it because messaging is huge. It makes or breaks whether you get the client or not. And so you have to know who you're talking to, and it comes with experience. So, yeah.
It does. But I also want to say, like, even if you're someone who's like, I serve so many different people, sometimes you just need to take a step back and say, okay, what do all these people have in common? Because we want niches to sound like these perfectly little, like beautifully packaged segments of the marketplace that already exist. But the truth of the matter is, if we're doing this right, you're carving out a marketplace that is adjacent to one that already exists. So we want to make sure that our niche is proven and profitable. We want to make sure that people are buying solutions or they're buying the solution that we provide, right? Like there's proof of concept. People will pay for this solution. We don't want to be too far out there that we have to explain to everybody what we do. But you don't want to go after a marketplace that is already extremely well served, because those marketplaces that are saturated, they already have what is referred to in the marketing world as category kings. The huge brands, the big businesses that they found that niche, they capitalized on it before anybody else was. And now they have 70 to 80% of the market share. You're never going to knock off a category king unless you spend your whole business trying to do so. Like, it's just going to take so long. But that doesn't mean you can't succeed. You succeed by saying, okay, I see this. I see I'm in a similar marketplace, but what makes what I do slightly different? Why do I want to get in this business in the first place? Probably I see that either I have a unique way of approaching this problem, or I see that there is a need that's not fully being met for everybody in there. Maybe the category kings are knocking it out of the park for a certain type of person. But what about the people who are like, this is just kind of working, or I just kind of like this solution, but I don't know anything better exists?
Right.
That's where you get to come in with your niche, where you're like, I'm solving maybe the same problem, but I'm doing it in a way that's all my own. If you've been craving somebody who's talking about it like this, everybody who's not fully satisfied with the category king solutions, come over here. And you're not even stealing clients away. You're just serving a marketplace that doesn't really love what they're buying into right now. Or maybe they're not buying into it all, but they're following them online because it's like, well, you're seemingly the expert and you're the only one that's talking about this, so I have to listen to you. Versus, hey, now there's something else over here. You're creating a new marketplace, a new sub-market within an overall market where your people who are a perfect match for you, they can flock to you. But until you figure out what that is, they can't find you. You're just another voice competing for that last like 20 to 30% of the market share that hasn't been taken up by category kings yet. Don't do that. Like, don't do that to yourself, because you're never going to knock them off. You're just going to be fighting for scraps in a marketplace that already exists. And so sometimes when we get started, we have to start in the marketplace that's defined. You don't know your niche yet, you got to start there. But you got to start looking around and saying, okay, where do people seem dissatisfied? And how do I know that I can make things better? Or where is there a missing piece where I'm like, but you guys aren't talking about this, or but your product doesn't do this. That's how you're going to start to figure out your unique positioning and how you differentiate yourself from what already exists. Because copycat, like piggybacking off of someone else, is not a long-term solution. It's just
absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I want to go into this and get your opinion on it. It's a little bit different, but exactly what you're saying, because especially going into 2023, how people are going to differentiate themselves from their competitor in all reality is everybody basically, when you do, I feel like it's going to segue a little bit more into like when you were the launch babe, is when you do more trending audio versus getting on the camera, spitting out your knowledge, putting you as an authoritative figure within your community and potentially in front of others. What is your take on doing trending audio versus doing just video that's you talking to the camera and teaching, or whether that's you on a coaching call that could be captured as B-roll? Give us like a little insight on that perspective.
Yeah. I am curious to see if you agree with me, but my initial opinion is trending audio doesn't work the way it used to. We had a bubble. It was great. I capitalized on it on my Launch Babe account. That's how we skyrocketed to success so quickly over there. If you guys don't know that account, it grew to like 30,000 followers in about 8 months. Like, it was a very fast growth trajectory over there. But
very fast.
That was when it was new. That's when trending audios were the trend. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are maybe trying to do that right now, and it's not working the way that it used to. don't keep doing it if it's not working because you're just going to get frustrated. With that said, I do think there is a place for them. The place for them is when you find something that you can connect so deeply to what makes you unique in your brand. That's the only way it's going to work. It's no longer piggyback on every trend that's happening. It's what trend actually fits really well with your brand. And your brand and your niche are so innately intertwined that it's going to help you accelerate your marketplace if you can use them in that strategic way. Now, you asked about versus talking reels. This is a huge area of opportunity. Video content where people get to hear your voice, they get to see what you're like, they get to hear you teach to them. We are already seeing a lot more of this, and it's already starting to trend better than sometimes the trending audios on with the algorithm. This is such a good thing to lean into, especially if you're trying to figure out right now, like, what does differentiate me? Make some teaching reels. Get on where you just talk, where you just riff. Get some things where you're like, ooh, I'm really passionate about this today and I want to talk to my audience about it. Or, ooh, this is a huge part of my life that I want to show people, and I'll connect it somehow back to the subject matter of what I teach. That's what people are looking for. And I believe that this is driven by TikTok because that's what's trending over there. That's what has been trending over there is small creators just using it as a place to connect in short form video and just face to camera, really raw footage. We're seeing that push now over into other platforms. And it's kind of like if you're not starting to do that on Instagram, you're going to fall behind because that content feels really organic. And because TikTok is such a hit, because people are making these deep connections over there, people are kind of looking at Instagram and being like, well, why don't I feel that here? Right. And the answer is because we've been hiding, not on purpose. It was what was working, but we've all been sitting behind these trending audios where people are like, I don't even get to hear your voice. Like, I don't even know who you are. The connection you make to somebody and to a brand when you hear the person behind the brand speak, it accelerates it so much faster than just seeing you dance and point at some text on the screen or just seeing you lip sync to a trending audio. They don't compare. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to lean into that more if you haven't been already and you've still just been sticking to the trending audios and hoping that they'll kick off. You might have one or two that still go viral, but I say lean in to more short form video where you're actually speaking.
I 1010% agree with you because I have clients now that are like, I want so-and-so did a trending audio and they're pointing and singing and it's working and they went viral and I want to do that now. And I'm like, well, that's not your personality. That's not your brand. It's actually cringy. You have an opportunity to build a relationship with your community in a deeper way by showing your face, letting them see you in your element. And a lot of people are like, well, I can't talk face to camera like you do, Shelby. And I'm like, okay, well, while you're with a client or while you're working or on a phone call or whatever the case may be, you don't have to use their voice. Just set your camera up and then you record you teaching or talking about what you are doing within your element. And that is when the magic happens because you're so confident in what you're saying that people will see that. And then that is when they see you as an authoritative figure. It's the virality bullshit that literally makes me crazy because I'm like, just because a video pops off or that person has 30,000 followers or 50,000 followers, number one, a lot of stuff I'm seeing recent is, are they buying these followers? Number one, like easy to tell. You can buy engagement, you can buy followers, all that. But in all reality, if you go viral, number one, are you actually going to sell to those people that like followed you in that moment in that video that popped off? Did they actually follow you from it? Are they buying from you? Or are you now attracting people that you're not even really wanting to work with? And then number two is, if you did attract the people that want to work with you, do you have the capacity to take that many people now within your business and deliver the quality that you're still wanting to provide? So I love that you said that, and I 1010% agree with you, because if you look back at my Instagram, I used to do the dancing and the pointing and the cool transitions and all that. And I'm like, now I just want to get on here and talk to y'all because I feel like I'm in my element. I feel like this is when I shine. And I think you're exactly right. It came from TikTok, number one, because TikTok is just Instagram on stories. Instagram was just curated so perfect that people were very scared to stray from that. So I love that you touched on that.
I want to build on that a little bit because you hit on some really good things. And I want to open up the conversation around engagement versus sales, connections and sales. Because viral stuff, you're going to get a lot of views, right? But exactly like you said, well, one, we didn't even go there. Who is it attracting in? Are they your ideal client? Was it a viral reel that's actually benefiting you as a business owner? Or was it just something funny where people are like, either not going to follow you because they don't see more of that content on your page? So great, you had a reel pop off. What are you going to do with it now? Probably nothing if it
Right.
wasn't connected to your
Yeah.
brand. Or they're going to follow you thinking that that's the kind of content that you always create. And then they're not going to engage with your actual business building stuff because they don't care about it. They're like, well, I was just here for the funny or the trending reel. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, what are we really doing with those views?
Right.
And exactly like you said, do you have somewhere to funnel them? Do you have the capacity to bring on a viral amount of clients into your business? This even goes into business structure then, but it's like we're putting our attention in the wrong place for the sake of engagement, for the sake of vanity metrics. And I know everybody like rolls their eyes at this, and I don't think you can really understand it until you've gotten the success that you want, or you're so frustrated that you're not getting the success that you want with your engagement, where you realize it really just is vanity. We need to know enough that the algorithm doesn't suppress our content. Like we need to have content that's good enough that we get seen because we want to always be growing. But sometimes, a lot of times, those reels, those posts where they're not viral worthy, it's you getting on camera, talking to your audience. It's going to make the most sense to your audience. It's going to connect the most deepest with your audience and not necessarily, anyone, any Joe Schmo that the algorithm shows it to. Side note, hopefully we're categorizing with niche keywords enough that we get shown to the right people.
Right.
However, a lot of times those reels or those posts that get the worst engagement turn out to be the highest converting posts when it comes to sales because you got so specific to your niche in them. You served them so deeply that they made the decision, okay, Emily or Shelby, they get me. I'm ready to join their world. I'm ready to hit buy.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, a lot of I love having this conversation with someone else that doesn't just sound like me talking to my community because they get annoyed with me saying the same thing over and over and over. But I've gotten majority of my clients and they either just follow me, they don't follow me, they've heard, like they've seen, their wife has seen me, their husband has seen me, their kids have seen whatever on social media, or they follow me and they do not engage at all. Those people that work with me,
Yes.
I didn't even know they existed, but I am serving them still, even though they didn't hit like, follow, share, whatever. And I get that. You have, like, just like you said, you have to cater to the algorithm. That's cool. I want to do that. I want to be able to create content that is getting shared and liked and all that stuff too. But the bottom line is, if you are getting such great analytics from social media, but they're not actually converting to clients, then what the hell are
Mm-hmm.
you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather,
Exactly.
like a lot of my people I talk to that are boutiques, when I first started, I worked for a boutique. I helped a boutique out and whatever. And she's like, well, my engagement sucks. And I was like, okay, well, how are your sales? And she's like, every month we've done better than the last. And I'm like, think about you as a consumer. When you are looking on social media to shop, you are not wasting your time liking, commenting, or saving. You are clicking the button to go to the website to purchase the product that you see that you like. So do not
Mm-hmm.
worry about engagement, worry about your sales. And so I think that that's the biggest frustration that I've dealt with, is trying to tell people or convince almost that stop looking at your analytics so deeply that it's dictating what you're doing, and start really focusing on the sales that is actually bringing in everything. So it's frustrating in our line of work because you have to convince so many people because we work within it, but then they see other things and I'm like, it's just insane. So I'm glad we
Well,
actually touched.
there's this big misconception that views equal dollars, which they just really don't even. If you look at big creators, most of them aren't making money off of how many views they get. It's
Right.
brand partnerships, it's brand deals, it's having somewhere to funnel those views into your own products and your own services within your business. It's not the views themselves that make money.
Uh-huh.
And so I
Right.
think there is this massive re-education needed, especially for business owners that are coming online, because we even have a different prerogative than an influencer per se, to know that that's not the case. Like, what is your primary goal for being online? I think that's so good to clarify. Are you here just to get your brand name out there? And so you don't care who you reach, you just want to reach as many people as possible, which I don't really think is that good of a goal, to be honest. You want to make sure that you are reaching your niche so that they are potential customers. Or
Right.
you want to convert. Because if your goal is to
Right.
convert, you said this in what you were saying, but I want to just go a little deeper on it. You're asking someone, especially if you're like a boutique, you're asking someone to leave the site and shop from you. So the engagement that you're asking them to do is to literally leave your post and go buy something.
Yep.
If you say like, hey, can you sit around and like this and comment and then go buy, you're going to lose people in the chain. It's just too many things. So it's like,
Yep.
what is the call to action? And are people doing that? That's what would
Right.
be most important to me.
Exactly. And that's what's important to me. And I just think I think it's just going to always be a struggle. And I think that that's what's helping me, honestly, narrow down again who I want to target and who I want to work with. And it's really more of people that believe in the process of organic social media and believe in the process that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. They're not obsessed with their analytics. They're not obsessed with this. They actually see and take a step back and let us do our job. And then it ends up really working for them. And they're like, okay, that's who I want to work with because they actually believe in the power of social. So anyway, I love our conversation. I loved everything about this. I love that we went deep into social too, because you know that your girl can talk about all of this all the time. I want to thank you so stinking much for joining us today in this podcast. And I want you to tell everybody how they can find you, how they can work with you, all those things. Give us a little sales pitch real quick.
Absolutely. And before I do, I just want to put a little bit of a bow on this because it does all relate to niche, right? I want to say you need to get clear as you go through on what makes you unique in the marketplace because it's going to make everything else easier. We talked about engagement. We talked about reaching the right people. We talked about pulling the right clients in that could actually afford you. All of this comes down to knowing how what you're putting out is being received by the person on the other end of the screen. And for us to be able to curate that, we need to know what's my intention with this post? Who am I trying to attract? What makes you unique, right? And so maybe in the beginning, to tie it back to where we started, you don't know what that thing is. You don't know what your unique positioning is, but pay attention to what you get feedback on from your audience. Pay attention to what felt really good for you to create. Not always the same thing as the reels or the posts that pop off, but what felt most like you. And follow those threads because everything that you go to do on social media is going to get easier when you know who you are targeting and what you have for them that makes what you have really special. Like, what are the results and why do they want to do it with you? And so niching down is this foundational but ongoing piece of work. But the more time you sit down and practice clarifying what you do, the easier it's going to be for you to succeed online and attract the right people and do what we all want to do in the online space, which is make more money. So it is so important. If you guys want to have more of this conversation, this is my bread and butter. This is what I love to do. My handle on Instagram now is It's Emily Cincotta, Cincotta. Come find me, come say hello. I have a whole super affordable mini course all about niche if you want to dig into yours more. But come find me, come say hello, send me a DM. I respond to all messages and I would love to chat with you.
I will say that was freaking brilliant for you because I love you so much when you were so confident in like what you do, what you help people with. And you're just, y'all, she's just so freaking confident in sharing the pricing and sharing what you actually get. And she's really good at boundaries. And just, I'm telling you, even if you don't hire her as your coach, you should. But just following her in the knowledge that you will get, whether that's a course, that is a Voxer day mastermind thing, every day she's putting out something completely different. And I just love it. She's a genius when it comes to marketing. That is why all the shifts that are happening within my brand are happening. She has walked alongside of me. She has helped me through all of it. She is amazing. So I want to thank you again so stinking much for doing this podcast, being here, speaking all the things that you can to us and how you can help everyone and just having a really good conversation. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much for doing this.
Absolutely. Truly my pleasure. Like Shelby said, come hang out. You don't have to buy anything to come hang out with me and we'll get you started. So thank you so much for having me. So much fun.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember, if you love this podcast episode, please like, share, comment, and leave a review. And everybody go check out Emily. Have a great day. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to Damn Good Content by Shelby Claymont. If you really enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and share it with anyone that you know may want to hear this. And tune in next week because we will have a brand new episode waiting for you. Have a great day.